Back in the early 2000s, Cartoon Network had what many now consider its golden age. This is when shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Dexter's Lab, and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy were airing. These were shows that made Cartoon Network stand out at the time. Shows that were considered the best of the best. I would agree, except I didn't watch any of these shows. I grew up at a different time, so I consider Cartoon Network's golden age to be a bit different. Growing up, I liked to watch a lot of cartoons, like most kids. I watched a lot of Cartoon Network, with shows like Regular Show, Total Drama, and Adventure Time. Me and many others grew up watching these shows were, honestly, amazing and shaped our childhoods. They helped kids pass the time on something they would remember for years. One of these shows, though, stands out. Adventure Time was a show that mixed a simple art style with bright colors, settings, and a very unique design, and a surprisingly detailed and interesting story. It originally had a pilot in 2008 on Nickelodeon, which was rejected, but Cartoon Network took it and its first episode aired on April 5th, 2010. Adventure Time follows a human boy named Finn and his dog Jake as they act as heroes in the land of Ooo. They meet new characters along the way, sometimes even traveled through space. The episodes would range from the simple heroes versus villain plot to the story of a boy trying to find the father that he never had in space jail. Yeah, I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but that's what made it so great as a kid, and even probably for people who were older than me at the time. I started watching Adventure Time in around 2012, over 2 years after it had originally aired. After I had seen it for the first time, I was hooked. As a young kid, the bright colors, funny jokes, and simple episodes made it a perfect cartoon for me. You could turn the channel whenever it was on and it didn't matter what episode it was. There wasn't an overarching story being formed over many episodes yet. It was just fun. This was why I kept watching, even though I had seen all the episodes that were out at the time. I just wanted more of the show, so I never stopped. And every week, I would get more. Every Friday, or Thursday, I don't really know, they kept changing the day, Cartoon Network would give us kids new episodes from many cartoons. Every week, I would turn on the TV and watch a new episode. This kept me hooked on the show, as weekly episodes seemed pretty frequent to a kid who has nothing to do but watch TV. The fact that the show kept adding new settings, characters, and details that actually mattered made it so much more interesting compared to other shows. After many months of watching the show, multiple new seasons of Adventure Time, even though I was still a kid, I wanted more than the normal Adventure Time episodes. The Adventure Time producers understood this though, as many people would eventually feel the same way. As people grew up, so did the show. This started to become apparent around season 6. Characters changed, and a story started to form. Suddenly, you would start to notice small details that changed the characters. Ben would go from the goofy kid to someone searching for his long-lost father, and then going through many mental battles. Jake would become a father, and go through the struggle of having kids, and then have to deal with having kids more mature than him. Ice King would be revealed to have been a normal person that went mad, and you started to see him as someone with a mental illness rather than just some weird guy. Details like this made the show start to change, start to grow up in a sense. At one point in the show, Finn loses his arm and almost drowns himself right after, in disbelief of what happened. At the time, this really got to me. I had just watched someone get their arm ripped off, lost forever. This is when I realized that it wasn't the same goofy cartoon anymore. This is when the show started to form a story that I was interested in. It added backstory and made the show seem much more detailed. This is the main reason I enjoyed the show so much. It made it into a world with history, and the history was really unique. It involved magic beings, nuclear warfare, and so much more. Towards the end of the show, almost every episode was story-focused, and the ones that weren't had callbacks to the story anyway. I went from watching the show for the fun, to watching the show to see what would happen next. Although, towards the last few seasons of the show, I had majorly lost interest, and almost forgot about it. This was due to the fact that the weekly episodes that I mentioned had seemingly stopped out of thin air. All of a sudden, there was a single new episode every few months, or sometimes many new episodes in one day. This, paired with the fact that it became highly under-advertised, made me almost forget that it was still producing new episodes. On top of that, they barely played the show anymore, even though I still think it was the best show on Cartoon Network at the time. To this day, Cartoon Network carries the same habits, except now they have no shows that people seem to talk about anymore. Cartoon Network had got themselves together, and Adventure Time and a few other cartoons could have went out with a bang instead of what seemed to be a sad fizzle. Fast forward to late 2018, and the series finale was airing. I watched it feeling that I had to, with how much the show affected my childhood, but I had missed out on so much, and felt like the experience was ruined. Turns out that I hadn't seen 2 or 3 whole seasons in the show. I didn't even realize that there were many new episodes. To me, the finale was completely new material. I had no idea what was happening. Before I knew it, the show was over, but because I missed out on so much, I barely felt anything. I wasn't sad, I wasn't nostalgic, I just moved on and forgot. About 2 or 3 months later, with the new desire to watch the show again, I went back and watched all the episodes I missed and rewatched most of the ones that I had already seen. It was such a good feeling patching together the whole story, and it was really put into perspective how great the show as a whole was. After I'd officially watched all the episodes, I still had the show in my mind, so I went to the internet. There were so many Adventure Time theories, reviews, and recaps on YouTube alone. I watched an amazing video about the timeline that jumped my memory on some points of the show, and even introduced me to concepts that were hidden in smaller details. This made me realize that the story went much deeper than I originally thought, and that doesn't even count the possibilities that theories had in mind. There has to be hundreds, if not thousands, of theories on things such as the origin of the Lich, the other humans, or questioning everything about gold. I had only understood the details that are directly told to the viewer. I completely missed things like Uu being the world post-nuclear warfare. There were elementals being reincarnated, and monsters older than time. In the end, they all tied together, and the show made it seem so normal. All aspects of the show seemed normal. The characters fit in perfectly to the world, and the world fit in perfectly to the story. This is all because of the small details left in. They were either in characters' dialogue or background art. When you truly look into a scene, there can be so much detail put into it. There's a whole theory video just on a few seconds of the show. It was a scene in an abandoned gas station that was turned into a rough idea of a story just from the few different shots. And the thing about the detail in the show is that it got more detailed over time. This added to the feeling that the show aged with time, with the overall quality only getting better as time passed. Another great part of the show is the art style. It was made up of simple character design and very bright colors. It made every scene pleasant to look at, whether it be the Candy Kingdom or the vast expanse of the Ice Kingdom. All of the colors went smoothly together, in some cases almost perfectly. The character design was great as well. Every character had something unique to them that made them stand out. Finn had his hat, Ice King had his crown and a large nose, and Marceline had her base. And these distinctions fit in with the characters. A good example is Marceline's bass. A bass is a lower hum, usually in the background of music. It is a calm instrument, but is easy to notice. This is very similar to Marceline's character. He is almost always calm, and is mostly more towards the background. And just like the bass, Marceline is easy to notice, with her long black hair and tendencies to wear red. In retrospect, every different detail you can point out makes the show that much better. The simple art style with a complex story and characters worked perfectly together, like no other show at the time. Adventure Time is a show that I look back on with great memories. It filled my childhood with laughter and thought. Very few shows hold up to the high standards that Adventure Time set for me. Currently on Cartoon Network, almost all of the shows that are on air are considered bad and aren't talked about much. I hold the same feeling towards these shows, and hope that one day there will be a new batch of cartoons that be considered a Cartoon Network Golden Age. Thanks for listening to me rant about my love for Adventure Time, and my hate for what Cartoon Network did to it. If you want to get more videos like this, you can like it or tell me in the comments. Thanks for making it to the end, and have a good day.